Kucha. I want my brother Raila to know whatever formations they come up with, whatever political formations, this is the time for brother Raila to be president of Kenya. And I commend him for resilience, for ability to stand strong.
So I am a Christian, I am an Anglican. Some people say, oh, wale watu wa waganga. When you find yourself in solitary confinement, in a situation where every condition around you could excite and keep passion alive, it's a very hard and unequal struggle to capture the spirit of hate and revenge. But because of the belief in the world after, you say, Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they are doing.
Now, that was just over the weekend. The two leaders were speaking at an event, and you can see Kalonzo Musyoka there saying that it's time for Raila Odinga to be president. But Fred, let me begin with you, because we saw that letter signed by Wiper Party and the UDP to the Register of Political Parties opposing to the coming to effect of a coalition agreement of Azimio One Kenya. I mean, what is this? Because we've had of this so many times. One of the papers here is describing it as another Kalonzo tantrum. What's going on?
Thank you, Sam. First of all, allow me also to put some records straight on what Kalonzo Musyoka just said. He said whatever political formations they have come up with, it is time for Raila Odinga to be president. And that was in reference to the Kenya Kwanza formation on Saturday, when JB Speaker Muturi joined Kenya Kwanza. And that was what was referring to. He was not referring to formation within Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition political party. Number two, yes, there are challenges that probably have been identified by some of our partners. And at this level, I wouldn't want to dwell on those challenges because there are people who are capable of addressing them. In fact, as we speak here, Honorable Tuju is meeting all the SGs of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya constituent political parties, and I want to believe that those challenges will be addressed. Number two, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is built on a policy platform of umoja, undugu, utu, uzalishaji. That means it is a policy aspect that requires that everyone to come together. And again, the mission of Azimio la Umoja is a mission for the prosperous nation. Okay? The objective is objective of inclusivity.
When such a letter is written to the Register of Political Parties, what does that mean? That the internal mechanism has reached to a point that they cannot resolve their issues?
Some, as I said, there could be challenges that we are not denying. But those challenges, as they have been identified, they'll be addressed. And in any case, I think what people are talking about could be a draft that probably somebody could have shared. It has not been received by the registrar. If by any chance it is received by the registrar, maybe today or whatever time, then it will be addressed at that level. But I want to believe, as a member of KANU, that is a constituent member of Azimio la Umoja, and a founding member of One Kenya, and a technical committee member in OCA, that the challenges that have been addressed in that letter are challenges that will be sorted out immediately. In fact, for us in KANU, we believe that those challenges should be addressed.
Okay.
Wiper believe that they should be addressed. So there's no cause of alarm. I have seen
there's
people
you've said, which
talking
is,
about...
I just want to confirm here that it's indeed, we spoke to the Register of Political Parties last evening, and the confirmation from that office is that so far this letter has not been received. But I'm just wondering, because it leaves out two spaces for MDG party and the KANU party. What is they are not signed. So what is the position of KANU about that letter?
We have a national chairman in the name of Senator Gideon Moi. We take instructions from Senator Gideon Moi. And as far as I'm concerned, if those issues were raised, then we shall wait until such a time we get instructions from our national chairman that this is the way forward. Anyone can raise issues. We're not saying the issues are not genuine. The issues could be very genuine, actually. But you know, in politics, we encourage negotiations.
Okay.
We encourage dialogue. When we were joining Azimio, I have come for this show several, and I keep saying that we joined Azimio through a structured, honest, and open dialogue. It is that structured, open, honest dialogue that has brought us where we are. I believe if there's anything that should be addressed this morning, or maybe could have been addressed last evening, then that one will be done in the same format and manner. So we encourage that. I want to ask the people out there that are now saying there's an issue in Azimio to hold their horses, because Azimio was built on a platform of utu, undugu, usawa, uzalishaji.
All right.
That aspect has not been addressed so far. It's a work in progress. Even look at Kenya Kwanza, the coalition challenges the other day.
We'll get to Kenya Kwanza, but first advice, are you aware of these issues? And what would you say then is the state of that Azimio movement? Because since March 12th, when we saw some function, I think it was the KICC, it's exactly 1 month today, but you're still dealing with some, what I would say, formative challenges. So how then does that affect the trust you have within the movement and how able you are to move ahead to the next very serious decisions that will have to be made, including the picking of a running mate?
I think the mere fact that everyone is trying to raise their issue does not necessarily mean that there is a problem in the coalition. It just means everyone is actually having their voice out there so that it can also be heard. And the major issue why we are having all this is because of the surety. There is a near surety that Azimio is the next government. And because of that, everyone would want to have a stake and everyone would want their position well taken care of. So there is no big issue in the Azimio per se. I think as my colleague puts it, we are having a meeting today, and the Executive Director, Raphael Tuju, is meeting all the Secretary Generals, and I'm sure these are issues that are going to be ironed out. It does not necessarily mean that just because we are in a coalition, therefore everyone is not supposed to speak and everyone is not supposed to have their opinion. So I think it's not, it is a matter that is being blown out of proportion. But
does it concern you that instead of the Secretary General of Wiper and UDP ironing out through their party leadership to speak to the party leader, the rest of the party leaders, they are writing direct to the register of political parties to stop a process that has already been launched? Yes,
it concerns me that would be the logical thing to do. But again, Sam, we need to understand that this game is within political players, and politicians would go an extra mile just to have their voice heard and create a headline here and there so they can be heard even better. So it does not necessarily mean that there is a problem or jostling within the political party. And as I said earlier, the Executive Director, Raphael Tuju, is meeting all the Secretary Generals, and this is a matter that is being ironed out. And at that, I would also just want to take a rebuttal about what Honorable Sankok said earlier about Jubilee being a village party. I would want to make him aware that the Jubilee Deputy Party Leader, Honorable Jimmy Angwenyi, is from Nyanza. The other party leader, Honorable Mositet, is from Rift Valley. Yeah, the chair of Jubilee is from the coast. So I would want to encourage Honorable Sankok to just make a bit of research his habit, and not just to blabber words. Yes, I know that when you are rehearsing to become an opposition, one of the things you start by doing is to learn how to throw words here and there without necessarily researching about them. But it's good for him to do that. I think if we must call any party a village party, then that would be a UDA, because UDA only has one sitting member of parliament. So you cannot compare that to a party like Jubilee, which has, including himself, as a nominated member.
Can you just avoid this? Let's just speak to the issues. I mean, these said issues may not really help us as we go ahead in this discussion. Let's listen to what some leaders have been saying about the running mate for Azimio la Umoja.
Wanaongea maneno mingi, sijui wengine wanagawiwa nini. Even us as the mountain, we need to know our stake in the government that is coming to be formed.
Also not blind followers. We want to follow, but our interests must also be taken into account. The region of Mount Kenya expects nothing short of the deputy president.
And this other matter about who is running mate, should not worry you. there are some things that are obvious.
We have unanimously decided to support the presidency of His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga under the Azimio umbrella because he is the one who is better placed to transform Kenya.
Lazima Bwana Gideon Moi angaliwe vizuri. Nasikia watu wanajipanga ati wanafikiria ati Gideon hawezi tosha kuwa running mate ya Raila. Nani amewadanganya? Rais ni Raila Odinga. Hii ya deputy president hata sisi kama KANU tunataka hiyo kiti.
This selection process must be evidence-based and data-driven. Someone cannot simply come and say, you know, I want to be the running mate because I think I should be the running mate. There has to be more than that.
I am your insurgent. I do not need tribal alliances as you're seeing being done today. They are signing agreements with tribal Wagogo. Where are the 190 of Kenya in these agreements? Where are the issues of the 99% of Kenyans?
All right, so I'll come to you, Honorable Sankok, but let me finish with the thread here, because every constituent party within Azimio movement appears to want that seat of running mate. And I'm just wondering, why is it being spoken about out here? Because ideally you would expect that the presidential candidate will pick their preferred running mate. If someone wants to get that job, why don't you speak to the candidate themselves?
Sam, allow me just a few seconds to put this into perspective. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition political party is a coalition of the willing. It's a coalition that brings constituent parties together for the sake of this country and what we have referred to as inclusivity and unity. Now, if you look at the contests within Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, is a contest about the running mate. And everyone feels suitable and capable to deputize Raila Odinga. But look at the election of a deputy president as provided for in the Constitution of Kenya, Article 147, that says that the presidential candidate shall pick a candidate who will be the deputy president, and that candidate shall be qualified to run as the president. When you go back to the provisions of law in Article 137 that give the qualification for somebody to be a president, one of the qualification is somebody who can be nominated by at least 2,000 members in majority of the counties. That is the challenge. If you look at some of these people that are posturing and would want to be running mate, which is their right in Article 38, they cannot meet that qualification in Article 137(3) or I think 2. Now, that is not the issue. If all of us, the constituent parties in Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, were to demand, in fact, for us in KANU, we demand it more. In fact, we would say Senator Gideon Moi is the most suitable to run or to be the deputy of Raila Amolo Odinga. But because we are not shouting about it, it doesn't mean that he's not capable. Everyone could be capable based on the qualifications provided for in Article 147 and Article 137 and even Article 38, based on those qualifications. So it means everyone could be qualified. We are saying that this aspect of picking the running mate is a sole duty that is bestowed on the presidential candidate.
There's something you said about 24 counties. Please repeat on that.
I am saying one of the requirements to qualify to run as a president is someone who can be endorsed by at least 2,000 voters in majority of the counties. That is what the law says, Sam. And if you go back to the election of the deputy president, it says that the presidential candidate shall nominate a person who is suitable to become a president. Therefore, it means that person must also meet that qualification or should be able to meet that qualification. But you don't need to be nominated by your party. I am saying, some look at the qualifications to be a president.
I get that.
So what I'm saying, if you look at all these guys, some of them might not be able to meet that specific one because you must be nominated by at least 2,000 voters in majority of the counties. And again, if we leave alone that and go politics, we are saying all of us then seem to be qualified if that's the case.
Are you misreading the law?
I'm not.
Because when you tell me that the deputy president has to be supported, endorsed by 2,000...
No, that's not what I've said, Sam.
You said they have to be qualified to be president?
Yes.
And a presidential candidate needs to get that endorsement?
Yes, that's the truth.
So that you're extending it to the running mate in basis?
No, Sam, you are misleading it. I'm saying, in identifying a running mate, it must be a running mate that is also able to become a president. So who is able to become a president? Go back to the qualifications of becoming a president. So that's what I've referred you to do. If you check that, then we'll proceed. Now, be that as it may, if you look at all these people who would want to be running mates, they come from the constituent party in Azimio la Umoja One Kenya. And everyone believes they're capable. But that job has been left for the candidate to choose, because it is the candidate, presidential candidate, who will nominate. In this case, it's Raila. So Raila will look at all those requirements. But because we are in a coalition and we believe that we are together, then we must have a consensus around it. It is a very delicate issue that we don't want to divide Azimio. We want to leave it for another time. And that is around consensus that will be built. And let's be honest also. We are in this election to win it. We are not in this election to lose it. Just hold on, Sam, as I finish. We are in this election to win it. In winning an election, people must vote. Among all these people, again, let's look at who has got votes that can be transferred through voting in a democratic and fair manner to Raila Odinga to win this seat. Those decisions will be made at that time. For now, it is not an issue.
Voting?
Pardon?
How do you know that without voting? That someone who
That's what we are saying. Voting is about projection. It is about projection. We have to project. We have to look at the numbers. We are ethnically mobilized. That is the fact.
Wow. Okay. Let's listen to what happened at Kenya Kwanza. Then I can bring in Honorable Sankok here as the National Assembly Speaker, Justin Muturi, join hands with that movement.
We in the Democratic Party are quite happy to fully and unconditionally associate with the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. The heartbeat of many Kenyans is within the aspirations that are espoused within this coalition.
We are enlarging this team and making the winning of the next general election a reality.
And we have people in this country with eyes and they don't see. There's a storm coming and they're just seated there watching and thinking it will obey them and move back.
Hata mimi sipangingwi. Hiyo ndio nikataa. Wale walikuwa nafikiri ati wanaweza kupanga mimi. Poleni. Hii miaka yangu haikubali mimi nipangwe na mtu yeyote.
We are going in as a coalition of parties and not a coalition party. And the deadline for lodging our document is actually on the 9th of May.
All right, so Honorable Sankok, because you're here, we look at some of those party leaders that have joined hands.
Because I'm here.
Yes, that have come together to join hands with Kenya Kwanza. And most of them actually had presidential ambitions, including Speaker Muturi, who initially had said that they're going all the way straight to the ballot. So what concessions are you having to make?
That statement, because I'm here, is very loaded. And I think because this discussion is online, we should check at the time allocated to each panelist. You'll see sometimes, Sam, you have to be fair so that we balance the discussion. First of all, you had the issue of the letter that was being written by some parties in Azimio coalition protesting. And I can tell you, Sam, that witchcraft is real in Kenya. And I only sympathize with
what is witchcraft?
Kalonzo Musyoka. If he does not know what happened with NAK, KANU, merger, if he has forgotten about NDP, KANU merger, NAK, coalition divorce, and called NASA and political parties fund, then I sympathize with him. It will be the same thing with this Azimio. Is it Azimio La Utapeli? Is it Azimio La?
No, Sankok.
Azimio La?
You know, we can do the same thing.
I want to Azimio La Umoja.
Actually, Sam,
no, just,
we can do the same thing Sankok is doing.
Fred, Sankok, it's called Azimio
La Umoja.
One Kenya.
Oh, Azimio La Umoja.
One Kenya.
One Kenya, okay. Yes, you have corrected me. You know, our coalition, that is Kenya Kwanza coalition, is built on a solid rock of an economic model that we started with, called bottom-up economic model, with a manifesto. We did not start it by, first of all, identifying position of who will take this position. Is
there a manifesto?
Who will take this position? It is there. And some I will give you the manifesto. If I will share with you if you need it. So already we have even an economic model or the direction that we want to take Kenyans to, because we are there to lead Kenyans. But unlike the Azimio La Umoja coalition, which was based on, was actually built on quicksand. It was actually built on the projection that BBI will go through and that they will be positioned to be shared. That is why up to now, they have not told us if they will use the trickle-down economic model or the bottom-up economic model. Which economic model will they use? Because for them, Kenyans come second. What comes first is position to be shared. We will get this, we will get that. And that is why you hear the Right Honorable Justin Muturi saying that it is unconditional, because for him, it doesn't matter which position he will get in the coalition. The same with Mudavadi, the same with Wetangula, because what is more important is that what direction are we planning to take Kenyans to? And already we know the roadmap. We have the roadmap. You know, when you have an economic model, then those who are coming to join us are admiring our economic model. We have explained to them that this is what we want. We want to start from the bottom towards the top. Because for a long time, we have started from the top so that whatever resources we have will trickle down. We have protected big corporates in terms of law, in terms of resources. We have pumped in billions of shillings to KQ in thinking that they will then pay taxes, they will employ Kenyans, they will do what we call corporate social responsibility. But we have ended up having those as avenues of corruption. That is why KQ today, as a parastatal, owned 2 aircraft. The rest are owned by leaders in government who rent or hire these aeroplanes at exorbitant prices that KQ will never make any profit, despite that the law protects it in terms of having all the state officers traveling in and out of the country using KQ. So it have a customer base, but does not make any profit. The same with other big corporates that we have protected to be monopoly using law and pump in government resources. So we have said, let us now pump in government resources to the bottom of the pyramid, because it is not open for corruption. If I uplift the life of Mama Mboga, boda rider, a saloonist, then it will not be like KEMSA. Nobody will go and corrupt in a kiosk.
So what happens to the interests that these other political party leaders are coming with? The likes of Justin Muturi, the likes of Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula. Of course, they have
most of them
personal ambitions.
Most of them, you know, for us, personal ambition is secondary. Primary is the ambition of where we want to take Kenyans to. And that is what they have come for. They have admired the economic model, they have admired our manifesto, and we are in perfect agreement that the position does not matter. Is it possible
to do that while outside government?
To do what?
To take the ambitions or the interests that you want to take for Kenyans forward, is it possible to do it while outside government?
It is not possible, because at the end of the day, you want to legislate.
Exactly. And
you
therefore,
want to...
because these individuals have their own interests,
yes,
what happens to them? You want to be in government?
Of course.
So
because the government,
what happens to
you know, once we win the election, because that's why they have come, so that Kenya Kwanza can win the election. Once you have won the election, the government is too huge. We don't have any baggage to carry. You know, unlike those who have been dynasties, who have baggage of those drivers that drove them to primary school, the friends of their father who was in the cabinet of their father. For us, we know our friends, like the friend of William Ruto is somebody called Clement in the village. So the new friends, you know, we don't have a baggage. So they will be part of the government. The government have so many many positions. And I have told you, since William Ruto is just another hustler, does not have a baggage of to compensate who and to compensate who. So all those who are joining us will be, like now, let me take an example.
You just complain that you're not getting sufficient time. I'm giving you time, but you're not responding to the question.
Let me give you an example. No. I've given you an example, like, let me give you an example. Mudavadi, for instance. Mudavadi have been known as a very good person in terms of being the Minister of Finance in the Moi government. He can still be in Treasury as a CS for Treasury. So, of course, when we form government, they will. And their personal ambitions is secondary to us and secondary to Kenya Kwanza. Okay. The primary ambition is where do the direction that we want to take Kenyans.
So, advice, we hear, and just to indicate here that we had invited Simon Gikuru, who is the Secretary General of ANC Party within Kenya Kwanza. He had confirmed that he'll be in attendance, but this morning sent a message saying that he has to rush to a different meeting. That's why he's not here. Too late for us to get a replacement so that we can have 2 versus 2. Because it's
I saw his seat there,
a desired position,
and I'm sure he sent an apology.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he was not able to make.
So, advice, we see some of the leaders from the Jubilee Party raising their voices and saying the running mate has to come from Mount Kenya, but also saying those concerns, including that letter that has been written by and signed by Wiper and UDP, saying that there was an agreement earlier on that the deputy president would be the deputy political party leader. Party leader of the Azimio coalition political party. What is the position of Jubilee when going into this conversation about running mate?
The running mate position, Sam, is, of course, every party would have an interest and every party would be able to say what would be their best wishes. And that is not bad. Everyone is, they have their right to say what they think because everyone is looking for political inclination. But we don't have an official position as a party, Jubilee Party, in terms of laying it as a compulsory gain that we must have a running mate position. What is the of-principle mandate for Jubilee Party today is to ensure that Raila Odinga is the President of the Republic of Kenya and to ensure that this country remains united. That is what is of interest to the party, as I say. But of course, the party has political players and we have different people within the political party who would be able to say whatever they will have to say, which is within their interest to say it. But that is not the official position of the party. The official position of the party, which has been the position of the party leader, is that Raila Odinga should be the President of the Republic of Kenya, and that is what we are championing. And 2, we are championing that at the end of the day, whichever way the election goes, the country will remain united and will remain an inclusive country. That is the official position of Jubilee as a party.
Okay, all right, I hear you.
Maybe, Sam, if I would just talk about the issue of the positions, and we have seen Honorable Sankok talk about Kenya Kwanza not being interested in positions, and again, from both ends of his mouth, again, talking about some of the interests they have in terms of the positions. We have seen Honorable Cleophas Malala speak about the positions that have been allocated to the ANC and maybe the Western Brigade. In Kenya Kwanza, we've seen him list from cabinet slots all the way to parastatal heads and ambassadors, as these having already been shared in Kenya Kwanza, and that is information that is in public domain. So for Honorable Sankok to say that Kenya Kwanza is not interested in positions, I think that is quite
Who are some of the ambassadors that you've seen?
Pardon?
Who are some of the proposed ambassadors?
No, he did not mention the names, but he talked about the numbers. I'm sure that's a clip you can find within your archive, that he has talked about the numbers and said they will be given this number of cabinet slots, they'll be given this number of ambassadors, they will be given this number of parastatal heads and members. Those are positions, Sam. And of course, when you're going into government, governments do not exist without positions. So this thing of Kenya Kwanza trying to run away from realities of governance, that they are not interested in positions. Even the presidency in itself that they want William Ruto to be is a position. So this idea of running away and claiming that they are not interested in any position, I think it's a very far-fetched reality that they should start running away from. It's not selling because today Kenyans can read, Kenyans can be able to see beyond So I think that thing is something maybe Honorable Sankok, when he goes back, he should advise them to run away from it. Because even as now, Honorable Sankok is sitting there as a nominated person, which
I did not say.
Just hold on. I'll give an
it is also opposition. So we cannot be able to discuss formulation of governments without people who are going to hold these positions. So I don't understand why they keep running away from that reality. If they don't want positions, they can as well avoid the election and just sit back.
Sankok, you're saying that positions are secondary to the agenda you have, which is fine. I mean, that's your
you know, he's saying that I said that we don't want position. I did not say that. I said positions for us are secondary. The primary agenda for us is what we have for Kenyans. Where do we want to take Kenyans to? And I gave an example that we already had developed our manifesto and our economic model. For them, they started with positions. That is why there was BBI to allocate some position to some leaders so that you can bring them together.
Some BBI is a position. BBI is a preposition. So when you talk about BBI being a position, and again, how do you intend to even achieve that manifesto you're talking about without having these positions? That's why you're fronting William Ruto to be a president. So BBI is not a position. There's no position in government called BBI. So we cannot be able to talk about BBI.
No, BBI was creating positions.
Just hold on.
BBI was not creating positions. BBI is more than
advice, just listen to me. Preposition or proposition? What do you mean?
Proposition. It was a proposal.
Okay, all right. Because preposition means something else. Fred, so because of... Let's first listen to what Honorable Karua said while on tour of different parts of the country campaigning for Azimio la Umoja.
Na nimesema pale juu ni mimi na chama ya NARC Kenya tumeamua kwenda Azimio. Sababu tumeona katika Azimio iko watu wa kutosha wa kusimama nasi kulinda mali ya umma. Na mimi nasema tuendelee kuongea, na mimi nina uhakika tukimalizia walio wengi tutakuwa upande wa Azimio. Ukiwa pande ingine ni haki yako, na hata hapa naweza kupatia mtu yeyote hii microphone aniambie mambo tatu nzuri kwa upande wake. Mimi nishaeleza ni nini nzuri kwa Azimio. Ni ya kwamba iko wengi wa kutosha wale tutasimama nao kulinda mali ya Wakenya. Ya kwamba Azimio inaongea juu ya matibabu ya kila Mkenya bila malipo, vile sisi tunaongea juu ya Kirinyaga.
Okay, so Fred, I see you laughing. I don't know why. You know, Honorable Martha Karua was once in One Kenya Alliance.
She has not left.
No, she did. She said that journey has come to an end, and she went to join hands with Raila Odinga.
She's in Azimio.
With
we are in Azimio.
Listen to the question. So she went ahead to work directly with Azimio la Umoja. Maybe that's why she's not facing the same challenge that as you are. But given that all these interests are going on, what is the breaking point? And is it even something that you have thought about? Because the letter that we saw yesterday and the voices of every other grouping saying the running mate position has to come to us. And the time will come that the running mate will have to go to a specific person.
That's absolutely true.
So what happens after that?
Yes, I am laughing because, actually I'm smiling because, you know, Martha Karua is a very, very dependable leader. And if you listen to what she says, that is the truth. She says that in Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, there is a lot of attraction because of the ideologies that we are selling. So that has attracted her. And as she campaigns for Raila Odinga, that's the message all of us are sending. And for avoidance of doubt, our candidate is Raila Odinga. Number two, we know for sure that a time is going to come. In fact, there's a deadline for every presidential candidate to nominate their running mate. That time is fast approaching. But I want to plead with all of us to be patient, because these are issues that are being canvassed at a different level. In fact, they're issues of concern that everyone else would be worried about, but at the same time, they're issues that can be easily addressed because we cannot look further. We will look from within Azimio la Umoja One Kenya to get the suitable and competent and capable running mate to Raila Amolo Odinga. That is how we're going to win this election. Number two, our primary concern today is the people of Kenya. The people of Kenya have told us that there is a lot of theft of public money. They want to end corruption. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya will do that. The people of Kenya have told us that we must strengthen devolution so that we take services to the people's doorstep. Azimio la Umoja will do that. The people of Kenya have told us that the young people, they don't have jobs. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya is going to do that. We are not only promising this time, and we are saying we are committing.
How will you do that?
We will do that through the blueprint and the economic platform that has been laid out by Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, which at the right time will be unveiled and you will see it. Lastly, Sam, we know that we are in competition. We respect our competitors, Sankok and team, the Kenya Kwanza. We do respect them because we consider them worthy competitors. We shall not antagonize them. We also ask them not to antagonize us. And that's why I plead with my good friend Sankok here. When I get out of this, I'll go and buy him tea so that just tone him down. We plead with them that in this election, it will not be won by fights. It will not be won by posturing, by threats and intimidation and blackmail that we have seen elsewhere before. It will be won on ideological basis, on what you sell to the people of Kenya. This election, the people of Kenya have seen there are two main contenders, Raila Odinga and William Ruto. Fortunately, for us who support Raila Odinga and campaign for him to win, we know who Raila is. He has a history. He has demonstrated that he deserves it. This time, it is not Raila alone who wants to be president. It is the people of Kenya and Raila who wants him to be president. So the people of Kenya are us. We have seen it. We will make Raila Odinga the president of the Republic of Kenya come 9th August, because we shall campaign for him and we will make him the president through a vote.
Fred, you have 119 days to do that. Honorable Sankok, I want us to a little bit move away from this and talk about something that happened. I think it was on Sunday where we saw the Deputy President talking about the budget of 2022-2023 and questioning the finance bill, saying that there should be a supplementary budget should they win election to come in and do some of the things that are being done. And I want to ask you this question because out of the 3.3 trillion shillings budget, with an ordinary revenue of 2.14 trillion, or the total revenue for government is 2.4 trillion, including what is called appropriations in aid. So if you do that, if you're expecting to receive 2.14 trillion from revenues, and you have a debt to pay of over 1 trillion shillings, whether it's both interest or repayments, how then do you bring a supplementary budget to reduce the revenue being collected? How will you run government?
Thank you very much, Sam. And Mother Karua was very beautiful in yellow. I must commend her. Allow me just a few seconds to comment on the running mate issue. For us, the running mate issue of the Deputy President will be somebody who is qualified and who will complement his weaknesses and his strength. Because as a human being, you have weaknesses and strength. We will all sit around the table and discuss the issue of the running mate because we want Kenya to move forward.
Are you excited about that? Will you sit down to pick or the candidate will pick?
We will discuss with him. It is not for him only to pick. This is a joint venture for all of us with, of course, the Constitution give him the power, but he have asked us that we all sit down and decide on somebody who will complement him so that this agenda that we have, this economic model that we have, will be achieved.
Okay.
So is somebody who believe on that, who understand.
Tell me about, if you win election, how will you run government? By coming up with the very first agenda is to come up with a supplementary budget to reduce taxes.
Sam, first of all, if you see the budget that we have just read, you will see a lot of pretexts from the sitting government because they were advocating for BBI, for instance, which will have allocated 35% of our revenue to the counties. Now, we had an opportunity to increase that one using this budget. This budget, we are allocating 16% to the counties. So we can read that it was pretext when they were advocating for BBI. There was nothing about BBI. It was just that one was just a sweetener, while the BBI real issue was a document about the president being too young to retire. Now, when it comes to this budget, we want to reduce our infrastructure. Sometimes they can wait. At the moment, Kenyans are suffering. They don't have food on the table. The cost of living have skyrocketed. You remember in 2018, the price of, for instance, cooking oil was 160 shillings per litre. Now the price of cooking oil is 360 per litre.
So even if you reduce the infrastructure, much of the infrastructure is being financed by borrowed resources. There's a deficit of 862 billion shillings, which will come from borrowing.
Yes.
So even if you reduce that, you still don't do anything to the existing local revenue.
That is what I was coming to you, Sam, if you'll allow me, because the first avenue of reducing our budget is, first of all, reducing our infrastructure. Infrastructure can wait, but an hungry man cannot wait. You have to feed. So, first of all, we'll reduce taxes on all food products so that Kenyans at least can have the basic of the basic, that is food. Then, from there, we move to increasing the tax base by having, for instance, the 100 billion that we are supposed to give to KQ, give to 1 million entrepreneurs 100,000 each. If you give 100,000 each, the small, medium enterprises, then you'll have 1 million new businesses, saloon, mama mboga, somebody else will buy a boda boda with the 100,000, and somebody else will open a welding shop, a carpenter's shop, and then we'll have 1 million new taxpayers. So we'll increase our collection because we'll have 1 million new taxpayers. The other issue is that we will increase taxes on non-essential commodities. Right. We can increase taxes on alcohol, on cigarettes. That
is already being increased.
So we will increase further. We will increase further because at the end of the day, we will have to make Kenyans' life very comfortable. You know, Sam, you and I are lucky. We are earning a salary. There are people in this country who are sleeping hungry. Not because they have typhoid or malaria, lack of appetite. Because they can't get anything to eat. People are dying because of having malaria only. Because they cannot afford medical care. So at the end of the day, we have to make sure that they're essential. And that's why we said this budget was not hustler-friendly. It was not for the common mwananchi. Because if it was for the common mwananchi, we will have thought of ways of reducing the basic of the basic, food. You know, Sam, you may not have a feeling. You know, I come from a very poor family. And a long time ago, I know what it means by sleeping hungry. I used to sleep on a cow hide because my father cannot afford to buy a mattress. Okay. So you can imagine the pain Kenyans are going through. So that is what we are saying, is that we will bring a supplementary budget. And this supplementary budget does not mean that, because some of the infrastructure that we are actually supporting using our budget are non-essential. And again, we'll use
I hear
using
you.
borrowed money.
I hear you, Sankok, yes. And this is what my takeaway. Because you're saying, yes, you'll reduce the infrastructure engagements. But it's when you do that, again, let me repeat, that 862 billion shillings is coming from loans that will be taken both locally and externally, and it's largely going to finance infrastructural projects. If you look at the 2.14 trillion shillings that will be collected from ordinary revenue, meaning taxes and other revenues, out of that, 687 billion shillings is going to paying interest. 370 billion shillings has to go to the counties. That's a total of 1.05 trillion shillings out of the 2.1 trillion shillings that must be paid to the counties and the interest. So you remain with just about 1 trillion shillings to run government. You're proposing to reduce the taxes on food.
Reduce the taxes on food?
So you will reduce that revenue?
Listen, yes, but increase the tax base. By increasing the tax base...
Can you do that through a finance bill or through a supplementary budget, and the tax base just grows within a few months?
Well, of course, once you give people money to do business, like now we have proposed in this budget, if you have seen, 20 billion to KQ, isn't it? In this budget. So that 20 billion will be given to small and medium enterprises. We will increase our...
And what happens
because
to KQ?
KQ is not even paying taxes.
So what happens
because
to
it is declaring losses.
What happens to KQ?
Itajipanga. Itajipanga.
Okay.
It is better to say without KQ, which is an avenue of corruption. I've told you, that parastatal own only 2 aeroplanes. Go to the facts. The rest of the aeroplanes are owned by government officials who ran those aeroplanes to KQ at exorbitant prices that they will never make any profit. I can give you an example. If I give you a boda today and hire it to you that you must pay 10,000 per day, you see, you will never make any profit. That is what is happening in KQ. It is under state capture.
Okay. One of the proposals is to restructure how KQ does its business, to let go some of the planes. But advice, when you listen to this conversation, because we're at a time that, yes, conversation about budget, but it's also getting mixed up with politics. And the truth of the matter is there are parliamentarians, including Honorable Sankok here, who are in parliament today. And they will be there until the eve of the election. They have the room to make changes that they think would be improving the lives of Kenya starting 1st of July. What then should you expect to see from the political class at such a time that you're running towards the election?
I think it's unfortunate, Sam, that most of our leaders in the political class, like the way you're hearing from Honorable Sankok, is they would make these proposals in media houses like here and in funerals, instead of taking these proposals where they matter most. Because Kenyans have given them a mandate to be in parliament and make these proposals. But the problem is that most of his colleagues are not really interested in the well-being of the country. They are interested in what gives them a political mileage. And that's why they want to sit back. When they're in parliament, they're very silent about these things. Nobody is making this a subject of discussion. But when they come to the funerals and to the media space, that is when people want to buy into the mind of Kenyans and look like they're really fighting for them. And you look at even most of the proposals they want to even give, you really cannot work with a proposal that says you leave KQ alone. Like what kind of country then would you be wanting us to live in, that we cannot be able to even now travel? So I think those proposals are already even, for lack of a better word, just weird, because it is not obvious that just because you have money to pump into small medium enterprises like his proposal of 100,000, that then you have so many of Kenyans who are interested in doing that kind of business. You should also remember that just about 25% of businesses actually make it by statistical data. So it's needful for them to come up with the proposals that make sense, because we cannot just be able to say, and I always said, Sam, we have a problem where people like Honorable Sankok want to have jobs that have a salary, but they want to say that other Kenyans should be given 100,000 and then they will have a business. Why can't we give Honorable Sankok 100,000 to start a business and get a Kenyan to be nominated into parliament?
I don't know the answer to that. Fred, so as we end up on this, and I want you to spend very little time, what solution would an Azimio government offer shortly after, if they win election, shortly after coming into government?
First of all, allow me a second to just comment on what Sankok said and to give input on what advisor said. The best place to address the issues of concern to the people of Kenya is at the floor of parliament. Basically, that is the function that has been bestowed upon a member of National Assembly, including Sankok seated with us here, that is not doing his job at the National Assembly. Number two, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya government has promised a policy framework based on what we call uzalishaji, ndugu, utu, umoja. That policy framework brings to the fore what the people of Kenya want to see. When you talk about this budget, the budget could have been not what the Kenyans wanted. But there are issues in that budget that for sure, if addressed or if implemented, shall guarantee to secure the lives of Kenyans. And we cannot make it a political contest, Sam. I saw Deputy President going to Kiambu in one of his rallies and saying that he will throw out this budget. The media reported when he gets into power. I want to tell the Deputy President that even in this budget, there are issues that will address his concern as a Kenyan, because he's first Kenyan. So if he has members of parliament, as he claims, because this is a finance bill that will be taken to the floor, I want William Ruto to mobilize Sankok and team to go to the parliament and address those concerns at the floor of the House. For us in Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, we shall mobilize our members to go and address those issues on the floor. We shall propose legislation that will secure the lives of Kenyans. We shall produce to Kenyans a manifesto that is committing to help them on agriculture, economy,
Do you have any
manufacturing.
specific proposals on the finance bill?
Pardon?
Do you have any specific proposals on how to amend the finance bill?
As at now, I can't confidently say that there is.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look at the feedback. Ochieng Omita says that, just hold on, Professor Nkok. I once said this direct ticket choice in Azimio One Kenya will weaken the whole team. For inclusivity of the country, the coalition should carry nomination for the best candidate to carry the day. In my opinion, the coalition is headed for a road shock, just like NASA Wow. Leonard Masika, let's not lie to ourselves. Any politician who joins any political coalition would want a space in that coalition. I like what is happening in Azimio la Umoja One Kenya. Everybody is trying to reposition themselves since we know politics is all about interests. Bob Otieno, we know, when you see several secretary generals of different political parties of a coalition meeting, know that kumewaka moto. Engineer Lazaro, Mr. Okango, why can't you handle your small challenges as Azimio partners? The issue of running mate will be ironed out through the help of coalition bona fide leaders, President Kenyatta and Honorable Odinga. I don't know what that means. Kipto Ruto, every coalition, whether Azimio One Kenya or Kenya Kwanza, will have to share positions, but a better and the best coalition will not mainly focus on the share of positions, but put prioritize the interest of Kenyans first. Well, priority and first. Chalo Wodrozi, the problem in Azimio One Kenya Alliance is Kalonzo Musyoka. He is someone who, instead of campaigning for votes, is wasting time in boardrooms, negotiating for positions. He should be honest and tell Kenyans the truth. All right. Paul Orodi, parties that hold boardroom meetings to decide candidates are simply undemocratic. Unless one candidate is vying for the party ticket, I do not believe that party bosses should decide who clinches the party ticket. These parties are personal belongings. And finally, Mutava Jafet, you say, same mistake made by NASA is being repeated by Azimio by allowing affiliate parties to front candidates everywhere, weakening their chances and giving the opponents who are giving single candidates an upper hand. Wow. Okay, so much to say this morning. Honorable Sankok, we are practically out of time.
Yes, just a minute. Just allow me
Can you take 20 seconds?
No, 1 minute. So anyway, ignorance is normally allowed, but not when you display it in public. Because when they say that we don't perform our duties in parliament, for sure, some because you have been a reporter in parliament, you know I have a motion, a bill on reduction of food prices. You know that I also have another motion that is going on irrigating of the whole country using gravity, because we are lucky we have water in Mount Kenya, Mount Elgon, Mount Kilimanjaro, and even Aberdare and Mau Ranges. So we have been doing our work in the National Assembly. And again, when they say that give Sankok 100,000 so that he can start a business instead, let me tell him, I started my clinic under a tree using 20,000. You remember the late Njenga Karume. He was already a billionaire by the time he became a politician, having been selling charcoals. You know William Ruto, he have been a chicken seller. So before we became politicians, we were somewhere and we had started our business. So when we say that 100,000 can change the life of a Kenyan, we know because such an amount of money have changed our life. And then lastly,
that's fine.
Lastly, yes, the landing cost of fuel is around 58 shillings. So our proposal...
It's not, it's 78.
It's 78 shillings. Yes, I think I mistook. 78 to 58. So 78 Kenya shillings. So if we remove the other duties and taxes... if we remove the other duties and taxes, we will be able to sell fuel comfortably at 90 shillings per litre.
You know, you're opening another conversation, because the next question I would have asked you is, then how do you collect revenue?
And then we have to respond again.
The taxes and the levy.
No, I've told you the ways of collecting. Increase the tax base.
We are going to buy him. No. His problem.
David Sankok, thank you so much for making time for us. Nominated MP from the Jubilee Party, now within the UDA. Fred Okango is the Secretary of Political Affairs within KANU. And we have advice here from the Jubilee Party. He's the chair of the Youth League. Is that so? Youth League, right? Youth League is good. My name is Sam Gituku. See you again some other time. Bye for now.
Nominee.